Does your wife or do you share any like games together, or what's your activities?
We don't play games per se. We do like the crosswords and the shorts and the wordles and all that, right? But I guess we do some card games as it gets into the winter months, right? Because you can't just watch TV all the time, or maybe up at the lake house if it starts raining. So we do like card games. My in-laws love Foot in Hand, I think it is. And so we kind of
Mm.
play that, bridge, gin, all that good stuff. All we're not gamers, but we do I guess the puzzles, if you will. What we do, we love to travel. We travel as much as we possibly can. We love different foods, different cuisines. So we're foodies, right? We always love doing that. Sometimes we just like chilling out at home because we both travel a lot for our work, right? So she just got back from Europe where she was there for 7 days. That's a lot, and so I said, hey, do you want to go anywhere over the next couple of weeks? She said, I just want to stay home. I just want to stay home till Thanksgiving, right? So
Uh-huh.
we'll do that. Big mover in movies, right? Really like some there's some interesting stuff on streaming. We really like that. I like movies. So we like the British mysteries, so we watch like the BritBox and all that. But there's some really good stuff being streamed right now, so that's a lot of fun.
And even religion, of course, too, because I think two things that families argue about most are money, religion, and politics. So,
Okay.
well, maybe not politics, depending on your family, but yeah.
So religion, I think as I get older, right, or life humbles you more, you realize how important being grounded in your religious faith, whatever that faith is, right? You should have it. And I think, as a member of human society, right? There's something bigger than us, right? There's something out there, right? That's I don't know, it's a metaphysical hand, something guiding us, right? Whatever your religious is. I grew up Catholic. I'm Lutheran now. I like to, I've always had a religious bent, if you will, right? Kind of growing up in Catholicism and CCD, and I was going to go to a Catholic college, but then went to a different one. So it's always been part of my life, and I think goes back to meditation. When I find myself in the pew on Sunday, I just feel like I'm starting my week out a little bit better, right? I'm just kind of
Uh-huh.
grounded in helping my fellow man and wanting to do good and wanting to make an impact in the world and all that. And I think it's important to kind of share that with your spouse or your partner, whatever that is, right? Whomever that is, and also try to instill that in your children. So that's
Mm,
those are my drivers.
yeah.
I think right now in this world there's so much hurting going on. Being more charitable, right? Kind of following those 10 guiding principles, which won't steer you wrong in any way, shape, or form, just makes it better. For us to have conversations. I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of the really good entrepreneurs that I've run into, small business owners I've run into, kind of have a, let's call it a faith, right, or a guiding principle, some level of spirituality, and not all, but some do, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? I don't think there's anything out there that you can't do. And I think since the dawn of time, we've been wrestling with these questions, right? And I think studying it makes you a better person. One could argue that the Bible, whatever Bible you have, King James, whatever it is, has all the answers, right? And you always hear people say, "Well, what's the best book, the best business book?" They're like, the Bible, right? It's got all the answers, right?" And so, why wouldn't you want to study that? Why wouldn't you want to help yourself understand that more, help your family understand that more, and help others understand it more? That's always been kind of my philosophy.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like that's like I'm not like on a mission to do that, but I feel like that's something I want. So let's get right into the next video by with Nick Loise. He's a business owner and yeah, so that was a great video. And Nick Loise also, I remember from our old podcast, together. He said that, which is currently releasing, uh, he said that some entrepreneurs are unhireable. And I relate to that because, like I'm an entrepreneur. I believe I'm working towards being an entrepreneur. And sometimes I find myself, as he put it, unable to get myself to think that I'm even able to do a job. Okay, you guys take it from there. I'm next. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, it was interesting what he was saying. He was mentioning about religion and how he feels it's important to have some kind of religion or some beliefs to give yourself balance. And I agree with that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a certain church religion, but you can have more of like a spiritual religion, spiritual beliefs within yourself, things that keep you balanced, things that you can always go back to, books that you can always turn to. I know I do that with books like The Secret and Law of Attraction. If I feel like I'm not really, believing enough in myself or my goals, I will reread articles because it really helps me to stay focused and have that balance and my beliefs that I'm not really manifesting great things that I want to manifest because I'm having doubts in myself. I'm doubting the world. I'm not really pushing myself in a way, in a positive way, the way I should be. So I like to read those books to give me balance. And a lot of people feel like that, like he mentioned, the Catholic religion and other religions, that gives them balance. They can turn to that and their core beliefs and say, am I following the right path? Am I doing what I'm set out to do? What my beliefs dictate
Gotta
I
believe
should
in
do?
something.
Yeah, you do. You got to believe in something or you believe in nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I love hearing that you read those books and, that it brings you that inspiration. I definitely have my own, sources of inspiration as well. I also want to mention that, yeah, I grew up here in Silicon Valley, and a lot of times the culture here was very atheist or very, just agnostic atheist, like spirituality was something that people didn't really do. It's kind of how I grew up. And those were, growing up, I think I really struggled because I didn't really have something to anchor myself on. There was no sort of, I wasn't really sure where I was going and who I was and everything like that. And then, so yeah, getting into the spiritual side of things really grounded me and kind of made me feel more secure. Like everything's happening for a reason. Everything's going to be okay. I am, I'm light. Like it's just, it really, these are things that just kind of help ground you in who you are and and in that greater purpose. And I think, the absence of that was still a belief. It was just more seeing the world as a sort of in a materialistic way where it's all just physical, and it kind of breeds nihilism, which is pretty much the fact that, like, the idea that nothing really matters and everything is and it kind of created a bleak reality for me. So there's just there's a night and day difference between actually grounding my perceptions in sort of like these spiritual truths and being connected to that greater purpose. I think it just gives me more breathing room, and it just it gives me permission to put the past and the future to the side and to really be here.
Right, right. And what you're saying is very true too. And I definitely feel there's a big difference between myself now and how I was years ago before I really followed the law of attraction, before I really believed in myself. I was really looking for a purpose, but couldn't quite find it until I came across those things and took a class in The Secret and read all the books. Now I just really feel like I have something to turn to. I have my beliefs, and I have these things that I can reread to reinforce them in myself whenever I feel the need to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good thing, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely one of the most impactful things for my own mental health. And yeah, I mean, a lot of times when we look at typical health advice, it's very focused on the physical. It's like, sleep and, eat good food and, maybe mental health, like go to talk therapy. But I think a lot of times in sort of this really i- in this society where science really is a big priority for a lot of people, I think a lot of times it's harder to, I guess, scientifically back, something like law of attraction or just proving that God exists. but that's the thing. Like a lot of times you can't really use these rigorous methods to validate those things. They really just have sort of their own place, and they have sort of their own truth. And so this kind of brings me to say, like, explore spirituality, explore these different texts, and just find what resonates with you.
Right.
And sure enough, like you will find texts and pieces of wisdom that you just say, wow, like this is so true, and it can really change your life.
Right. Or certain religions have really changed people for the better too. They may not have been a real believer or very religious and they go through some bad times. Then they say they found Jesus, or they are starting to work towards certain types of beliefs, and they find that religion, and it gives them a purpose in the community, and it really improves their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that the work that people do often influences their beliefs, like you were saying in the Bay Area tech, because it's so like different. It's like what does computers have to do
Yeah.
with God,
All
except for
computer
maybe
organs.
porn? But anyway, what it's done to me as far as living in the Bay Area has it's I tried to keep a distance from God or any of these conceptions, because I was so focused on go, 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 get to the next place, A to B. It's all mathematically calculated. It's like an equation. And when I started looking at spiritual means, I meditate regularly. I invite everybody to try it in a group, because you get a better experience if you're beginning when you're meditating with a group, because you kind of hold each other together in a meditation session. And but it's like the best thing that I did for myself was to reach a spiritual plane where I could explore those things like God, and even read the Bible a lot. I talk with Nick about that on the show. But there if you had to look at it like there's a Bible verse that you lived through your whole life, that would be like what I was doing before. I was always on the same equation. And once I started exploring and looking at different avenues, I was able to open up like new energy force and a new energy that I've been able to talk with people, have a better relationship with my family, try to start a business, even starting my path towards a career based on my experiences. And that's all stuff that's like not only like money related, but it's related to have that equation that I had before that got better with spirituality. But also I've picked up bird watching, stargazing, camping, and I'm trying to get back into exercise, but that's all I'm saying, is that it's a wonderful thing. I'm glad we brought that up, and Nick was able to help us bring that up to our audience. The methods that he uses. Like we also talked about books a little bit on the podcast, some other books, and I think reading is another good thing. Do either of you guys read?
Yes.
Oh yeah, you read the Secret. I've heard of that one, the Law of Attraction.
Law of Attractions, How to Be Happy. I have a whole.
Oh, okay, those are wonderful books. Yeah, I haven't read them. I've just seen because they made a movie out of all those books. So yeah, those were really interesting movies. What about you? What books do you read?
I have a number of books at home. I'm from a younger generation, so I kind of grew up just, reading, like mostly gathering a lot of information online or just through discussions, even podcasts.
Oh yeah, that's reading.
Yeah, but I still have some of my favorite books. I personally really like the Tao Te Ching, or the Tao. It's like just a book. It's pretty much the foundational text of Taoism. And that's just one that I've been reading recently that I've been very interested in. And yeah, I recommend everyone else, I guess check it out. I think what it really talks about a lot is just, kind of like how nature moves and how we can align ourselves with nature, or this Tao, this universal Tao that kind of moves through everything. So I found that a really eye-opening book, and I guess that'd be my recommendation.
So you're saying Tao or Tao?
It can be said in both ways.
No, no,
It kind of depends. I
not
actually
like Wall Street or anything.
no, no,
Okay,
no.
okay. Yeah, because I watch a lot of movies, and yeah, movies are maybe not the most spiritual thing, but it is very cathartic for me to watch films. But my energy level right now is so high that I can't really sit down and let that happen at all. But yeah, so let's move on to the next segment, which is Trevor Alexander. He's a video gaming dad, so he plays video games, and he's connecting with his children and other people's families through his podcast, Gaming Dad.